Hello, everybody. This is Julie Schrager. I am your host of the Nothing But Julie podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry I have been absent for a few weeks. I was not feeling very well. No, it was not COVID. Just little issues here and there. Trying to keep up with life pretty much. And I am back. And I thought, what are the best streaming shows, series that I think are the top best ones. So, yes, this is all according to me, according to what I've watched. So, this is going to be the best series that I've watched that I highly recommend you watch on Netflix. What else? Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, and Hulu, which I feel are the top streaming platforms. I didn't include Apple TV just because, well, just because. I need to tell you, I literally have become a huge advocate of streaming. And the reason why is aside from the convenience, I mean, they didn't have this when I was a kid. Nothing like this. If you wanted, even, well, okay, when I was a kid, they didn't even have Blockbuster. They came out with HBO, I think, when I was in middle school. So maybe 82, 81, maybe anywhere between 80 and 82. And I remember, you would have to wait for something, to come on. There was no streaming. You were paying for the service like you are now. But you had to wait for the premiere like on a Friday night or Saturday night. And I remember gathering around with my sister and my mom and my dad, waiting for this show to start. That's kind of the most that I had when I was a very young child. Not very young, but a young child in middle school. Then years later, they had Blockbuster Video. Those of you that remember Blockbuster Video, I remember calling my boyfriend and telling him, get to Blockbuster really early so you can get this movie before everybody else does, because they had a limited amount of movies. And I mean, I remember Friday night, it was packed. I'm like, what are you all doing here? Shouldn't you all be out at the movies? Shouldn't you all be going out on date night? Meanwhile, I'm there with my boyfriend. Or he was by himself, but you know what I mean. Blockbuster videos were VHS cassette tapes. So you needed a VCR. And I remember whenever I would get a video from Blockbuster, whenever I had to return a video to Blockbuster, the next time I would get one, they would tell me that I owe X amount because I didn't return the previous video. And I'm like, yeah, I did, because I would put it in the Dropbox. So after I started, hearing that they weren't getting these videos for whatever reason, I started going into the store, which was a bit of an inconvenience, and make sure that they scanned it right then and there. They did have scan guns. I actually went to camp with the daughter of the man who invented the barcoding system. So, and then I'd have to have them scan it in and make sure, and I would even get a receipt and hold on to it. That was what it was like then. It wasn't until many, 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 many years later, that Netflix came to town. And wow, that was honestly, to come from a background where, people in offices were using computers for really the first time, and those were DOS systems, and then you had, Macintosh, Apple, and then, of course, you had Windows that came out, to having a plethora of technology at your hands. I've seen what life was like before it and what life is like now. And there are definitely ups and downs, but that's not why I'm here to talk about technology. You can check out a previous episode of that. But I am here to discuss Squid Game. Have you seen Squid Game? If you haven't, what are you waiting for? Yeah, there's a bunch of gory crap in it, and there is, ooh, just, you got to have the stomach for it. But I tend to think that's more at the beginning. There was still killing and some brutal stuff that went on, but the essence of the show was so good. So good. It wasn't just some, boring movie, I think that might have been made in Korea. It wasn't. And you didn't need the subtitles or anything. It was wait, did you? Wait, did you need subtitles? I don't think you did. Maybe you did. You know what? I can't remember, what I ate 5 minutes ago. So watch Squid Game. Yeah, it's South. It was South Korea. I'm just checking now, and it's like it's an action thriller TV series, and it's basically about people whose backgrounds were checked by this big corporation of people, and they were singled out. They were like cash strapped people, and they were invited by like a strange invitation to play almost all children's games, but the stakes, were deadly. And I don't believe many of the games that they played were anything that these people had thought about. And you see that at the very beginning of, the first episode, I would say. And it was interesting, the games that they came up with, or the games that they came up with. And there's a point, though, to Squid Games. And this is, well, first of all, if whoever is basically last man standing, they can walk away with like billions of dollars. I needed to figure out what the amount of money was that they were going to win by going online, because it was in Korean money, so I had to kind of figure that out. But it's a very physically aggressive childhood game that they play, and some you might remember from when you were a kid. And I think it's like $38 million that they can win. But I think that's where it starts off. And then it increases into the billions. It's about 9 episodes. And during one of the episodes, you see the series take a turn, like a dark turn. And this is when these contestants start to realize, oh, wait, I can die playing this game. It didn't happen right away, but if you haven't seen it, I don't want to give it away. But they're all kind of isolated in this bubble, and they learn not to really trust each other much, because it's such a high stakes, deadly game, and the outcome is death. And you really don't know if the person that, that's right next to you is saying to you what they're saying, because you don't trust them. And a lot of stuff happens throughout the movie. And even though the concept is not obviously realistic, it's really very bizarre, but it still kind of gets into your soul, And this was a huge, huge, huge success on Netflix. So, Squid Game, definitely, highly recommend it. Okay. This is not in any order. The Queen's Gambit, which I can give spoilers, so I'm just letting you know for this, there's going to be spoilers because it's been like a year. So if you haven't watched it, then, whatever, don't listen to the rest. And this too is on Netflix. And it's just a series, a mini series, and it's actually based on a novel. And it is about a little girl who becomes orphaned and lives in an orphanage and befriends a janitor who teaches her how to play chess. And I think that she might have been 8 years old. I know that she was very young. And it was a very interesting concept because, you know, you don't hear of women playing chess. And so to be able to select a woman, it really has increased the amount of young ladies and children that have now really started to play the game and really enjoy it. And anyway, so this was set during the Cold War era, and when she becomes a part of this orphanage, at that time, these kids were made to take a pill. I'm not sure if it was to help them sleep or to stay calm. And she then became addicted. And in this addiction, she went on this quest to become like the greatest chess player in the world. And it's how do I say this? The way that she figures out her strategy is after taking these pills or being high or with some kind of substance in her system, and she's able to figure out on the ceiling what her moves are going to be. And she has this heightened sense of, and I hope I say this the right way, apophenia. Does that sound? Anyway, that is someone who has a tendency to perceive meaningful patterns and random data. And so that is how she manages to figure out how she's going to play. And it's very intense, and you're literally going through the struggle with her, the struggle of addiction and the struggle of being the best. And like I said, it's based on fiction from a novel by the man of Walter Tevis. And I don't know if you ever heard of Anna Taylor-Joy, but she portrays Beth in The Queen's Gambit. You might have seen her before. She was excellent. The absolute excellent choice for this. The way that she portrayed the image of a woman with addiction and becoming this almost like what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. A person, like a prodigy of chess. Really very interesting to watch it. And to have such an astonishing talent for chess and begin this journey to stardom while grappling with addiction. Let me tell you something. It was a really, really great series to watch. So, The Queen's Gambit, also on Netflix. Loved it. There's going to be some that you aren't going to think are the ones that you should like, or maybe I'm missing some. I'm not going to mention every single one that I want to watch. The Umbrella Academy. Love The Umbrella Academy. I think too that was on Netflix. I think that it is. It appeared I think in 2019, and they've had 2 seasons. I really do hope they come out with another one. It's loosely based on this comic book about a disbanded group of superheroes, and again, it's called The Umbrella Academy, and you will recognize some of these characters and some of the actors, and it kind of revolves around, mostly revolves around a completely dysfunctional family, and all of the siblings, again, spoilers, were adopted. And the man who was there, and I use the word very loosely, who played their father, he wanted to turn them into superheroes. And they eventually turned into adults, and they kind of went their separate ways until their father died, where they all decided to reunite and solve this mystery of how the father passed away. Meanwhile, there's this imminent threat of an apocalypse. And yes, someone has the superhero way of being able to see the future. So it's so good. It's so good. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm really not going to say much more. But what I will say is, it is for adults and it's for kids too. And the one thing I do remember from the beginning, because I don't remember a lot, was there were 43 women that were pregnant and gave birth simultaneously around the world at noon on October 1st, 1989. And 7 of these children were adopted by this father. He was a very eccentric billionaire. And like I said, he turned these kids into, he tried to turn them into superheroes. And instead of them having names, he gives them numbers. And there's a mom, but she's kind of like a robot. And he put all of these kids to work to fight crime. And one particular, and I won't give it away, sibling was kept apart from the rest of her siblings because she supposedly had no powers of her own. Oh, she did, but she just didn't know it. And she was literally kept apart from her whole family. Anyway, the whole second season technically took place like 56 years earlier, but you can keep up. It's a really, 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 really good series on Netflix, The Umbrella Academy. All right, another favorite of mine, which I am fairly certain is a favorite of yours because I know it's a favorite of many. Ozark. Love Ozark. So, let me see how I can describe Ozark to you. There's just so much involved that it's hard to kind of narrow it down. It's a crime drama. Excuse me. And it is about a husband and wife, Marty and Wendy Bird. And Marty got into money laundering while he was living, I forget where he was living, Chicago. Excuse me. And they decide to move to the Ozarks to continue laundering their money. And it's really such a great series. I think they've had 3 seasons, and now the 4th one is going to be in April, end of April. So let me tell you what I like so much about it. Marty Bird is literally detached emotionally from everything. Nothing seems to bother him, even though he's bothered by things. But he's part of this Mexican drug cartel. And there was a certain scheme back in Chicago, a money laundering scheme that just went wrong. And Marty makes amends by offering to set up an even bigger laundering operation in the Ozarks, which is located in Missouri. So he moves his whole family, which is young son and daughter, to the Ozarks. And they immediately become intertwined with local criminals. And later on, they get intertwined with another group. It's, I think, the Kansas City Mafia. Lots of twists and turns, could be violent at times. The way that they're constantly getting into deep shit and then pulling themselves out of it. Wow. Wendy Bird, the wife, you watch how she's progressed and how she's become more and more evil throughout the series, and how she becomes very manipulative and extremely narcissistic, which obviously she was, but just it just got worse, and a bit she's well very patronizing. She is just the way she manipulates people into thinking like she's a gaslighter basically is what she is, which by the way is another episode of mine that you can check out. So anyway, Marty is just like a self-employed financial advisor, and he is very, very smart and figures out how to do this money laundering in such a way where it can kind of keep him out of the spotlight, but he's always being pulled in. So, again, Ozark, another one of my favorites, is on Netflix. Wow, 3 for Netflix. Okay. Another favorite of mine is Euphoria. Euphoria is on HBO Max, and I'm going to tell you why I like this one so much. It's not for everybody. It is very dark, and it's about addiction. But hear me out. Even though it's about all of that, the acting is really, really good. Zendaya is in it, and you see her struggle, and it's palpable. The way that she acts, oh my God. I mean, it's almost as though she was really going through the addiction and the withdrawal. It's pretty much about a bunch of teenage high school girls, many of whom are envious or jealous of the other person, dressing, like, whores. They're kind of, a bit skanky. And there's a lot of drugs and partying and sex and these girls trying to find who they are, what they are, how they are with other people. And it can get, pretty dark at times. But I really like it also because it does show ways of handling addiction. It is definitely not for young kids. That is definitely not something for them. It is more for an adult audience. But it's also about a father-son relationship and, men cheating on their wives and transgender character, and gay and, LGBTQ plus, they really incorporated a lot of what is woke right now in today's culture. So I'm telling you, a really, really great series. From what I understand, because they just showed the second season, I don't think that it is coming out, the third one, if it is, until, from what I understand, 2024. So, you've got a while before the next one comes out if you want to watch this one. I'm telling you, it's one of my top 10. Okay, HBO Max, Big Little Lies. Now, this is with Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman and, hold on, I have to think of, what's her name? Meryl Streep, duh. Laura Dern, Shailene Woodley, Zoe Kravitz, Adam Scott. I mean, some really great actors are in this. And it's kind of like a dark comedy, I would say, about murder and hiding some things about this particular murder and mischief. And this all takes place in Monterey, California, which is a very quiet, tranquil beach area in California. And you have all these moms that, my daughter is great, my son is wonderful, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, behind closed doors, there's a lot of bad marriages, not great relationships with the kids, divorce. It's like a lot of women who the husbands are very successful, and one of the characters though Laura Dern has a very successful career, and her husband is screwing everything up. Beautiful homes, but rumors. The whole community is fueled by rumors, and a lot of division, and you can see lots of relationships that are fractured, like I said, between husbands and between wives, and even parents and children, friends and neighbors. And it is told through the eyes of three women: Madeline, who is played by Reese Witherspoon; Celeste, who's played by Nicole Kidman. Who's the other one? Oh, and Jane, no, Jane, who is Shailene Woodley, but also Laura Dern. But let me tell you, great series, lots of drama, craziness. There is some physical abuse in a husband and wife's relationship, and it's just it's such a great show. There are some parts though where women can maybe be triggered by the sexual abuse, but it's so telling. And when Nicole Kidman was had wrapped up the first season, I remember seeing her on an interview saying how hard it was for her to get through doing this role, that after certain sexual abuse scenes and physical abuse scenes, she just sat on the floor and stayed there, and the crew just left her alone because she was in that moment, like she really felt it. And so she needed to just kind of recoup, on her own by herself. Wow. So anyway, it's gotten tons of awards, and the actresses have gotten tons of awards. And I will tell you, I liked it so much because they had to keep it a secret, the murder, which you don't know if they did it or someone else did it, if they were hiding a secret, and eventually things start to catch up with them, and it's really good. I don't think that they're going to have another season because all these actresses are like crazy busy from what I understand. But definitely see that. Big Little Lies, HBO Max. All right, let's see. Well, I'm going to tell you this one from Apple TV or Apple Plus. Ted Lasso. You have just for the month get Apple TV because Ted Lasso is worth it. You can get it for like $4.99 or $5.99, or I think it's free for a month now. I don't even know. Ted Lasso, and I'm already laughing, it's so satirical and like dry comedy. And so it's with Jason Sudeikis, who was on SNL, and it's an American football coach who gets hired by a British soccer team, by the Brita Filter. He's hired by a British soccer team and doesn't know anything about soccer. Nothing. But what he lacks in knowledge, he makes up for in optimism. And he is so optimistic. And he makes biscuits for the owner, who is this incredible looking woman, who is his boss. And he's got this determination that people who didn't like him fall in love with him. It's not a true story, but I believe Jason Sudeikis was working on this for like almost 20 years. 20 years before he finally brought it to, become something streaming and where a streaming service picked it up. And he too has won a ton of awards along with the other cast members and the show itself. It's such a great, optimistic, it's like wholesome and totally unattainable show. And, there's this one popular soccer player who eventually retires, and it's about love and also divorce, and playing the game and learning how to be a team player, not just think that you're the only one on the team that's, making the magic happen. Really, really, really great show. And it's really engaging TV. And you often wonder if Ted Lasso is really that like dumb, or if he's actually really smart. And that's why he's saying the things that he says. I know it sounds really strange, but I almost wish that there was a spinoff of this show, because honestly, the writing on the show, the writing is just incredible, and there's such a wide range of characters, and each one individually gets their moment in the spotlight. You don't really see that too much on shows. There's usually just like one main character and the others kind of, follow suit. But they're all, it's like they're charming and smart, and they're all charismatic. And, I really, really like that show. So, Ted Lasso on Apple TV or Apple Plus or whatever the hell it's called. All right. There are a few others that I really did like as well. But I'm only going to talk about one last one that you have got to watch, and it is called Peaky Blinders. And Peaky Blinders is on Netflix. There's, I think 6 seasons, and they have like very kind of deep Irish accents, so you might need to have your closed captioning on. But I will tell you something, 5 out of 5. I never thought that I would be into this type of genre, but I did like it. It is about a gangster family it's set like in the early 1900s in England, and it basically centers around a gang, and they sew razor blades in the peaks of their caps, hence Peaky Blinders, because they then use their caps to blind people and use it in other areas. So it's a very, it could be gruesome and brutal. And again, not my cup of tea normally, but I just was hooked. And there's a fierce boss, and his name is Thomas Shelby, or they call him Tommy Shelby. And let me tell you something. Oh my God. Not only is he adorable, but the things that he endures, and there are many other brothers, one of which dies, that are a part of this clan. And they basically return to Birmingham after they served in the British Army during World War I. And Shelby, Thomas Shelby, and the rest of his brothers and whatever people are a part of the Peaky Blinders on the outside, basically they control the city of Birmingham. But the thing is that Thomas Shelby has these ambitions, and they extend beyond Birmingham. And he really wants to build on his business empire that he's pretty much created, and he will literally stop anyone who gets in his way. And there's lots of sex and drama, but let me tell you something. It keeps going. Like, every season was a continuation, but very different departure from the previous season. So from what I understand, and I can't totally remember, but I do believe that there are 6 episodes. And I think that the 7th episode is on the BBC right now, and then coming to Netflix probably next month. So there you have it. 35 minutes of my top however many series is. Let me tell you something. You don't have to take it from me, but they are really, really good. And I know that there are people who are struggling now to find more series to watch because of COVID, and some people who are still trying to find work and they have extra time on their hands. I'm telling you, I understand that it becomes a bit of a struggle to, find something new. So there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be in touch with you next week. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye.